my YouTube channel, on my Instagram channel, on my Facebook page. I'm really, really, really proactive about artists understanding how the music business works and how to make money with their music. So those two areas are the not-for-profit side of what I do. I'm in the process of building out a website now that will educate artists, hopefully thoroughly, and that should be up by the fall. I'm pretty excited about that. I don't have a name for it yet, so if anybody wants to suggest some names, woohoo, I would love the help. And then I also am a consultant to artists that already have investors on board, and my team and I, we help them make money with their music, and we do it in a hands-on fashion. So that's the for-profit side of what I do. And then I'm in the process of building out an incubator or accelerator, if you want to call it that, for artists that have some funding but don't have enough funding to really do this properly. We're going to bring them into our incubator and accelerator and grow them and teach them how to do this very hands-on. And then once we push them out of the nest, they will retain 100% ownership and 100% of all income, all publishing, all rights are theirs. So I'm really excited about that. And that should be up and running. I'm in the funding portion of that right now. So that should be up and running hopefully by January of 2021.
Wow. And I should let people know, you made me cry.
I did?
Last October. Yeah, you made
me. Did I punch you?
Huh?
Did I punch you?
No, well, you punched me in the heart. I was in the car park at the Commons building, Millikin University. And we had this crazy idea to take students on their own bus following the Pigface tour bus. And Pigface in itself, there's 17 people in the band, sometimes 28, 5 drunk kids. It's insane. So insane on top of insane was very challenging. And all of these, there's ups and downs in all of these endeavors. And I was having a kind of a bad day where everybody at Millikin was just amazing in pushing away obstacles to help make it happen and be an accredited experience for the students. But I don't know what happened this one day, but I was in the car park, I remember this, and you called me, you were like, well, I was talking to you about Danny Carey from Tool. I said, what have I done? He's coming out, he's going to do some shows. I said, Wendy, as an artist manager, surely you can sympathize with me. What I should have done is invited out drummers who are older than me, in worse shape than me, and then I could come out in a stripy Adidas tracksuit and look young. And he said, what the fuck are you talking about? You need to surround yourself with awesome people, blah, blah, blah. And by the way, I want to come on this thing. And I said, well, there's no budget for that, Wendy. And I mean, there just wasn't a budget for it. And you said, I don't fucking care. I'm renting a car. I'm going to follow that bus. I'll get my own hotels.
I was going to rent a car.
I'm going to teach those fucking students.
Yep.
And I thought I told you, I fucking cried after that call because I think I described lots of this as turning around on stage and falling backwards into the audience.
Right.
And when the hands come out to catch you, it's just, that's the whole thing for me. That is the whole thing. So thank you for that.
You're so welcome. You know what my fondest memory of that tour is? And by the way, it's the greatest thing that I've ever done in 28 years of music business. It's the most effective thing I've ever done, and it was the greatest experience. I think I wrote an article about it even afterwards because it was that amazing. And I want you to be able to use that article to be able to go get some funding. But my greatest memory, and you probably won't even remember this, I was watching you drum, and I joined like 7 days in or 8 days in,
Yeah.
and I watched you drumming. And when you drum, you don't just drum, like you give it everything. You give it like 110% of you. And I saw during the day that your arms were sore. I saw the blisters. I saw the pain. I saw you struggling. And when we were in Dallas, we happened to pull into a parking lot across from a CBD store. And my fondest memory of that tour is I went to the CBD store, knowing that you may or may not have some substance abuse issues in the past, and learned everything I needed to know about CBD within 30 minutes from this guy that owned the store. And I came back and handed you a bottle of oil and said, here, put this on your arms, because I knew it would help with the inflammation and the pain so that you could keep giving it 110%.
Well, thank you. Of course I remember that. And once again, there's those two things. There's a bottle of stuff that you gave me, but there's a heart full of stuff that you gave me. And you know, I'm the music business guy, and I'm talking more about heart and love and empathy. But if I was purely a business guy, I'd be advocating for that stuff anyway, because it's the only stuff that moves anything.
Right.
You know? So and if you just want to be, yeah. So thank you, Wendy. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you for letting me be part of something that was just so fucking amazing.
Did you know that I stole the letters from the marquee that night?
I do know you did. And if you hadn't, I would have.
Yeah, and you can see behind me, I stole, those are the letters from a Washington Mutual Bank site behind me.
I love it. I love it.
Not possible to steal from a bank. Don't quote me on that. So, this is, I'm loving this. First things first, how has this lockdown, the virus, this time, how has that affected your business specifically, but also the business that you're in? How you're in Atlanta, right?
Yes.
How are you seeing things there, and how are you seeing the nuts and bolts of the business there? And how are people dealing with it?
Absolutely. So I'm gonna answer them in the order that you asked them, and I'll preface this by saying that I work in rap and pop, mostly in rap. So I'm going to speak towards the rap side of it, right? Yeah. I hate that people are dying, but I love this. I've been in my house now for 8 weeks straight. I'm an introvert, so it's been heaven for me. It has forced me to stop taking meetings in person, which are very time consuming. It's enabled me to use Zoom, which we're all using today, which is a wonderful platform. I can do meetings now. Instead of only being able to do 8 meetings a day or 10 meetings a day, I can do 20 or 30, which is really kind of amazing. Not that I'm bragging about that, because that's just insane, but I've accomplished so much for my clients and for my business and myself personally. And you can probably relate to this, you meaning everybody that's watching this. We tend to focus on putting out fires all day, every day, so we don't really ever get to do our to-do list of stuff around the house or things to make our own businesses better. And I've had the opportunity to do that for 8 weeks, and it's just amazing. I was also invited to write a column at Forbes magazine. So I'm going to be writing for Forbes.com, which is super amazing because it's a magazine that I read and love.
Wow.
So excited.
Wow.
I'm so excited. But I've really loved the whole shelter in place thing. It's really worked for me amazingly. I'm even learning to speak Spanish because I've got some time. So I'm hugely grateful for it. I can't say how it's affecting Atlanta as a whole, because around day 4, I stopped watching the news. It was stressing me out and really scaring the hell out of me. I also caught coronavirus very early on. It was a very, very mild case of it. I had no symptoms other than a bad cough that took me 5 weeks to get rid of. But when I started to get corona, and this was in March, this was in mid-March, when I started to get it, I had just heard that 2 friends had died from corona, and in my 50s, and I'm overweight, so I am the person who's very susceptible to passing away. And it scared me because, you know, in my life I've gone through some really amazing stuff and survived, and to be taken out by a virus would just be unacceptable to me. It would be embarrassing, and it would be completely backwards of how I live my life. So I started to become very healthy. I fought it naturally because there is no way to really, you know, to really cure the virus. But once it scared me that badly, I tuned out all of the negativity, and I started doing a 30-day challenge on my Instagram page that I followed along with all my followers, and it was just all positive stuff. And every day we did something new to help ourselves professionally and personally, and that became my focus. You probably know that Georgia opened back up Friday a week ago, and for me it's too soon. I still haven't left the house. I just don't feel like the virus has died down enough. It hasn't even plateaued here yet. So I just feel like it's a little too soon. So I'm going to continue with my shelter in place at least till the end of this month, possibly longer. But the great thing that I can say about this, even though I know a lot of artists can't tour and can't make money, my clients have all pivoted so that they're making money through their merchandise. They're doing live shows online. They've all kind of pivoted to making money other than through live shows, which is where most new artists start to make their money first. So I'm really proud of them. Like, they're all doing well. Even the guys that were struggling a little bit pre-COVID are doing well now, because the fans have all, I should say the rap fans have all gone to social media and the internet. So they're able to reach them through Facebook ads and Google ads better than ever, YouTube ads better than ever. So I'm pretty excited by that.
Anybody, are you seeing, this sounds like it should be a t-shirt. I was thinking yesterday, with I don't know if you saw the bags that we're doing where you can pay what you want for this bag. It felt to me like a Nipsey moment. I was thinking yesterday, like, what would Nipsey do? You know, do you see people going the extra mile, or do you see people just failing at it?
No, I see people pivoting, like, positively. And, you know, for those watching that are looking for direction right now, you know, I have always preached to do a large portion of work online and then still go out into the real world and market and promote, like, to people. And because we can't really do that right now, we're not quite at that point. I'm just explaining to artists that the best thing you can do right now is run digital ads. So, you know, either learn how to run Google ads and Facebook ads and YouTube ads, and influencer marketing through Instagram and influencer marketing through TikTok is a really great way to reach new people. And go live as much as you can, not just to perform, but to really give people a sense of who you are. Because when you go into the real world and you market and promote, that's what is beneficial. It's not just the being able to touch somebody physically, but it's them being able to see who you are and what you think and how you feel. Sort of like what you and I just did, where you asked me, hey, Wendy, what do you think of the COVID pandemic and how it's affecting you? You know, everybody watching this got a really good feel of how I feel about it and what I think. And there are people that will have some emotion sparked by that. Either they'll really hate what I just said, or they'll relate to it because it's like, oh shit, she got to get some of her stuff done around the house on her to-do list. So did I. Yeah, that's right. And it gives a contact point, not a physical contact point, but a point of understanding and similarity an emotion and passion to your fans, and where people can see the similarities between you and them. And I think that that's so important when you're talking about who you are. I think that behind the scenes content, especially in rap, is so important. We want to know who are we listening to? It's almost as important as the music. We want to know, like, what does this person think? What are their belief systems? And it comes back to what you and I were talking about in the beginning, comparing Morrissey to Robert Smith, where you said, yeah, somehow Morrissey got real right wing and went, off the deep end. Fans care about that stuff. They care about, what are Jay-Z's political views, but they also care, what is new artist XYZ? What are their political views? What do they stand for? What are they thinking? What's their life? How did they come up? Where did they go to school? What are their parents like? Do they have parents? And people really want to hear the stories. And the great thing about the internet and right now is people have time to listen to the stories, and they want to hear the stories. They want that escape to be able to focus on something other than what's going on in their immediate surroundings.
Right. I think it almost feels to me like artists who've been doing stuff have almost an unfair advantage. It's one of the reasons I love teaching music business, because I don't know if there's any students on here or parents of students, but I'm not teaching music business so that you can go and be an A&R person, which may or may not exist anymore, with an expense account, which absolutely doesn't exist anymore, in Los Angeles, and sign bands. I teach music business because if you're doing stuff, you learn how to pivot, and it's like, if you're touring, the wheels exploded, the club doesn't exist, it's not all ages, you've got diarrhea, there's no sound system. It's like, okay, how are we going to make this work? Right. And I found myself just going to my toolkit of looking for the silver lining. Is kind of a hallmark way of putting it, but just making sure that something keeps happening is a more practical way of looking at it. And I know that some people are like, oh my goodness, this is this calamitous situation. I'm like, for me, it's a Tuesday. It's just, what are we going to do?
It's a Saturday, yes.
What's the silver lining? And just like you, I've spent a crazy amount of time working on my next book, which I would never have spent the time. I would have banged it out from the back of the Pigface tour bus. And
in between stops, exactly.
And it would have just been, it wouldn't have been what it could be. So
exactly.
So
can I share something with you that I've learned? Like I learned this in life. I didn't learn this from being trapped in my house. But one of the people that I've learned from, his name is Jack Canfield, and he wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul series.
Okay.
And, he reminds me so much of you because he's so positive, and he's just always like working and coming up with these great ideas of how to, get more people involved, not because he's trying to make money and sell something, but because he's got a message to deliver and he just wants people on board with that message. And I asked him one day, I'm like, how did Chicken Soup for the Soul become so successful? Because it became its own franchise and it made billions of dollars. And he thought about it for a minute and he said, Wendy, it's because we did something every day to succeed. He's like, there was not one day, like we didn't take off weekends. We didn't take off evenings. Like every day we did one thing, at least one thing to move the product forward. And I love that because I took from that and I'm like, okay, every day I'm going to do at least one thing. And there's some days where I'll do 50 things, but every day I do at least one thing to move the brand forward and to help people get to where they need to be. And I think that is so important as an artist. If you're going to have a career in music, You've got to do at least one thing every day, not musically, but to market and promote yourself so that you can share your great music. And the music has to be great, but to share your great music with the world.
Right. And that, but that, the music being great thing, that's something that I, frankly, struggle with a little bit at Millikin University. It's a school of music that that students are taught. You keep practicing, and you'll get better, and things will get better. And I think it's my role there to be like, yeah, but if you bought a van, if you bought your own van, you might get that job as a bass player over a better bass player because you've got a van. You know,
that's a good point.
So, but the music can't be shit.
Agreed. And it's subjective. So like what you and I might think is good music, there might be 20,000 fans that think that's good music. And we have to go with the popular response if your goal is to make money doing this. It's not like there's 5 graduates of Juilliard sitting on a panel somewhere saying you're good and you're not. It's really the fans that decide. And that was actually one of the hardest lessons for me to learn, because when I started this, I really only wanted to work with artists that I thought were great. I didn't really want to work with artists whose music I didn't understand. But I've learned that it's the fans who decide, not me. And the fans get to weigh in and say, I like this or I don't like that. And as an artist, when I say you're making great music, I guess I should probably preface that by saying you're making marketable music. You're making music that your fans will think is great, not necessarily your peers.
But it's interesting because I like to work with people who fuel me, and there's a bunch of people. There's a guy called Moldovar, Moldovar. He put out an album, I want to say 8 years ago. The song titles are written in electronic circuitry on the back of a circuit board that fits inside a CD case.
Oh, wow.
But wait. I guess he thought, well, if I'm going to do this, there's a light-sensitive theremin built in to this album. And I've taken that thing all over the world. I think it was $50 a piece, and I bought 3 copies of it. It keeps selling out. I've taken it all over the world. I've still never heard his music. I don't care. I just don't care. I think the guy's a genius. And, so I hope that the music's good. Yeah.
I'm guessing from all the comments that I'm seeing, and I suck at like talking and reading at the same time, so forgive me. But I'm guessing from the comments that I'm seeing while you were talking that he is pretty amazing, because that's what most people are saying.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign. So
what I'll do at the end of I've got a CD in the other room. I'll grab it and show you. It's stunning. There are a bunch of questions, Wendy.
Fire away. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. I'm just going to go through them. If it's bullshit, say bullshit pass next. What are ways you can pay videographers on your label or your team when it comes to official video views?
First of all, you shouldn't buy views. It's not conducive to building a successful career. You've actually got to put the videos out and then spend the money on marketing and promoting the videos to get real views. Because the people that are, and ditto for your social media, because the people that are following you are the ones that you're going to depend upon to buy your merch and stream your music. And once this thing goes live again, where we can go out and tour, they're the people that we're going to want to let know that we're in their town. And if you've got a bunch of bots or fake followers that you bought just to make your ego feel kind of good, when your message goes out there, it's going to be falling on deaf ears. So you really want to make sure that the people that are following you are real and able to vote with their dollars as to whether they want to support you or not.
Right. Absolutely. Bots don't buy shirts.
Not only do bots not buy shirts, but the way the algorithm works, and I'm not going to get all geeky and boring, but when you put something up on social media like Facebook or Instagram, it doesn't go out to all your followers. Like I've got 50,000 followers. When I post something, it doesn't go to all 50,000. It goes to a very small percentage of them. And then if they engage with it, it goes a little wider. And if the engagement's good, it goes a little wider. And if the engagement's really good, then it goes on to the discovery page, the front page, right? But you have to remember that social media was set up not so that we could post cool pictures of our breakfast. It was set up to make money for Instagram and Facebook and whoever. So they're looking for you to promote your posts. So their goal is not to have all 50,000 of my followers see me post a rest in peace to Andre Harrell. Their goal is to give it to a few, and then if people engage, give it to a few more. If I have bots, then my engagement is even less than what Instagram and Facebook are allowing. So I'm fucked in the gate if I'm not able to reach a good portion of real people, because there won't be any engagement and my post will just die.
Right. There's a guy I love called Andy Cernovitz. He was involved with word of mouth marketing, and I love this phrase.
That's our goal. Word of mouth is our goal.
He said, "Advertising is the cost of being boring." Bam.
Wow.
Like right before, yeah. Before, and you know, when we did the bags a week ago, when people knew we're giving money to different causes and you could get these bags, you know, then I put individual addressed signed notes in, surprise notes and candy and all these bags to everyone.
Yes.
People just spread that shit. They love that shit.
Yes.
And if you can find that virality, oh God, what did I just use that word? If you can find that, people will do that. If you find that, people will do it. If something isn't worth sharing, it's not worth sharing.
And that's the goal. Like we want shareability. In a perfect world, we don't want to pay money to get people to look at us as artists. We want to put something out that's so unique or so different or so weird or so extreme, whether negative or positive, that it incites people to get passionate and share it with their friends. Yeah. And I try to remember that whenever my clients are shooting videos, because that's really the best place for that to happen. People love sharing videos and photos. It's just intrinsic. So if you can make a video that isn't the typical standard boring video, you don't have to spend a lot of money. You can just be really creative and have people be like, wow, I'm so blown away by that I want to show my circle of friends, hey, look what I just found. Isn't this great?
Right. Okay, question number 2. And I don't have the names on these. If Rebecca or Emily is online and they can go, that question is from this person, please throw it in the thing. You often say, draw a 3 to 5 mile radius around the city and do a promo tour there. My question is, when I get to these cities, where do I go and what do I do?
I love it.
How do I know where people are going to be?
Absolutely. What a great question. And it's a 3 to 5 hour driving radius, not a 3 to 5 mile driving radius. Yeah. So let me preface it by saying that. Yeah. You start with a map and then you figure out your target area by drawing a giant circle so that you can drive 5 hours in any direction. That way you can at least have a handle on your target market. Because even if you have to drive from the furthest point to the right to the furthest point to the left, it's only a 10-hour drive, and you can do that technically relatively easily. If you had to perform in one market on a Friday night and the next market on a Saturday night, you could technically do that. It's not like you have to get on a plane and fly from Miami to Seattle, which is a problem, right? It becomes very expensive to do that. So when you get to this town, and you can't do this right now, Martin, because of the shelter in place, but once that's lifted and you're able to move around again, you want to be able to go to the places in each town that where large amounts of people gather. So that could be like whatever is the hippest barber shop or the hippest hair salon, depending on whether you're targeting men or women. It could be the high school that has the most students. Or for me, I don't target high schools with the most students. I pull up the list of high schools that are doing poorly, the ones that have bad test results, because that seems to be the bulk of my market for rap. And that's not a negative statement. It just is what it is. So I tend to target the schools that are underperforming, and I pull up across the street. I usually in a van, I throw the back doors open, the music's playing loudly, and then we're giving away t-shirts or posters, and the artist is right there signing them with a Sharpie. We go to flea markets, we go to college campuses at lunchtime and dinner time, we go to whatever club is popping that night, and we film all of this. Even if you've got somebody along that's filming it on an iPhone, just so that you can document this as content and put it up on your social media. So two things happen when you do this, right? So let's say I'm in Macon, Georgia, which is about 45 minutes south of Atlanta, and it's as small as you're thinking that it is. And we're doing all of these things and we're putting it on my Instagram. So now two things are happening, and pretend I'm a rapper, right? I can't rap a lick, but just pretend with me for 2 minutes. So people outside of Macon are seeing me do all this cool shit, and they're like, wow, Wendy's on tour, and I'm posting it on my Instagram as Wendy's COVID Challenge Tour. So they're seeing me go to these different locations in Macon, and it's impacting them because they're like, oh, Wendy's working, Wendy's doing what she's supposed to be doing, Wendy's building fans, her numbers are going up. And then the folks that are local to this region are looking at it going, oh wow, Wendy's at the barbecue shop that I go to, Wendy's at the barber shop where I get my hair cut, Wendy's at the university campus where I went to school, Wendy's at the high school that my best friend goes to. And it becomes personal, and they see that I'm actually going to places that matter. And I'm taking pictures with, if I'm going to a hip hop gear shop, I'm taking pictures with the staff or the owner so that people can really see, wow, she's really there. She's talking to the guy that I buy my t-shirts from. She's talking to the guy where I buy all my blunt wraps. She's talking to the guy that lines up my hair. And when I say guy, I don't mean male, I mean male, female, whatever gender you do or don't represent. But all that to say is it becomes very real, and it's something that people can really attach to, whether they're from that city or not. And if I'm doing that every day and I'm in a different city every day, it's the fact that I'm on tour and people are sharing that experience along with me. I did this when I went out on the Pigface tour, and even though I knew that the bulk of my 50,000 followers wouldn't know who the fuck Pigface is, they knew that I was out on tour. They saw us parking the buses. They heard the stories of us leaving people behind at a rest stop and having to make a U-turn and go back and pick them up. They heard about the fact that I was sleeping in a bunk and I felt like it was a fucking coffin because I'm a big girl. They got to experience everything that I was experiencing in real time right along with me. And that's what you do when you go in that 3 to 5 hour driving radius.
And what that is, as you're describing all of this, if you're listening and you have aspirations and you're choosing music for the easy life, you are so fucked.
You're so fucked. Just your social media is a full-time job. And then on top of that, you've got to market and promote. You've got to interact with your fans. You can never be negative. You can never have a bad day. You can never be unhappy. You can't be in the middle of a fight with your significant other when somebody walks up to ask for an autograph. You have to be like, oh, yes, hi. Thanks for coming up. And then you've got to make music, and you got to make good music that can sell. You're fucked.
Yeah. But the good news is the things that you talk about, I think some artists, they're like, is this the one single that will get me to the top of the charts? And it's not about that.
It's not about that.
If you do 10 things, meet 10 people, 5 years into this, you'll be huge out of nowhere because you've just built this thing brick by brick by brick. It's really simple and slightly intimidating. And if you're allergic to hard work, horror.
This is not for you. Yeah. And Martin, you said 5 years. My clients do this in anywhere from 12 to 24 months. Like 18 months is the average till my clients can really support themselves. But I've also got to preface this by saying it's not free. Like, this is a very expensive industry. If you're looking to start a company without having to invest any money, you can't do it. Like, music is not it. There's just better places to make money if you don't already have some money.
Right. Make a lot of friends in every town, says Doug. Okay. Well,
yes. Great advice.
I'm doing just a terrible job. I'm loving this, by the way. I'm really loving this. I'm on question 3. Okay. I'll try and scan down a little bit. It appears you have a smaller artist try and create a buzz in a marketplace first, consisting of 2 to 7 states. Is that based on their style of music, which region likes the sound, or on where they live? Makes local support and touring cheaper. Would you elaborate on how you choose that marketplace and how to attack it?
Yes, I'm going to answer that 2 ways, because what you're really asking me is what you should do, not what I do. So what you should do is, if the sound of the music that you're making is being embraced by people around you, you should start in your area. If you live in New York City, then that was just really bad advice, because it's so expensive to market and promote to New York City that you're going to have to go out and around New York first and then come back into the nucleus. So you're going to want to hit Boston. You're going to want to hit cities in Connecticut. You're going to want to hit Philadelphia. You're going to want to hit Pittsburgh. You're going to want to kind of go around New York City. What I do is I do a bunch of research. I look at artists that have a similar sound to the artist that I'm about to work, and I actually buy research that tells me what their target market is so that I can get a really good feel. If the artist is, and this is only something that experience can tell you, so don't sit there and kick yourself because you don't know this, but if I have an artist that makes very pop, radio-friendly music, I'm going to start them in the Southeast because that's the easiest place to garner radio play. And I only know that from experience.
I've got to draw attention to this. I love Shannon Curtis wrote a book. Oh my God, what's it called? No bouncer, no bartender. Molly, do you know what that book is? Yeah, Molly's going to Google it. And she does house concerts, and it's the same idea. I know she did 8 house concerts on a run around Seattle, Washington. And
no booker, no bouncer, no bartender.
No booker, no bouncer, no bartender.
Beautiful.
So she did 8 of these house shows. They didn't conflict with each other. She didn't have that clause, non-compete clause, radius clause. She did 8 house concerts to 10 to 50 or 60 people in each one, and made friends with everybody, of course. You have to at a house concert. Then she went back and sold out a small theater, bringing all of the people from those 8 places together.
So smart.
And when you take baby steps without sounding like that movie with Robert De Niro in it, whatever that was, when you take baby steps, if you make a misstep, it's only a little step back. It's not a calamitous fall from some badly constructed scaffolding
Right.
to, you know,
I've seen artists rent out warehouses and Airbnbs, and I certainly don't recommend Airbnbs because you could destroy somebody's house. But I've seen artists do house parties, even during COVID, which I don't necessarily recommend because it's not safe. But there's a lot of younger people that feel that they'll never catch COVID because it's an old person's disease. So they've been doing house parties. And you can make money doing that provided you don't price yourself out of availability. And another thing that you can do is you can find the hottest artist in those different markets where you have now said, okay, these are my target markets. And you can do collaborations with them by sending the tracks back and forth. You don't have to be there in person. You can record verses in your home or your home studio or your local studio, and then send it to whoever the hottest up and coming artist is in those in different areas. And then you're working the track in the song in your area, they're working the song in their area, and you're getting double the exposure. And you could do that in 20 different areas with 20 different songs, and you could call it the COVID compilation. There's just so many ways that you can expand yourself without ever having to leave your house or go outside of your house.
Right. I just want to, there's a couple of comments in the chat. A couple of people can't get in to the meeting. I don't know if there's students on that. I wanted to ask you this as well, Wendy. You might, I don't know what your philosophy is on this idea. I see so many artists, they're in the first year, maybe 2 years, and they have an economic argument for why they need to get $500 for a show or $1,000. And I just say, chill out, get 3 jobs if you can find them, and accumulate some money. So when somebody offers you the right gig at the right venue for the wrong money, you take it and you kill it. You think you should be headlining, but you're opening, just kill it. Shut your mouth and kill it, because then the power is yours. The club owner, they're not idiots, they're smart people. Hold on a minute, everybody likes this first band, let's bring them back. But you've got to get through the door and show people that and mobilize your audience to then have that leverage to get paid what you're worth. I think so
Agreed.
many artists that I see are so worried about playing for too little that they play for too much, and they do price themselves out of an opportunity.
I agree. I think that my philosophy has always been crawl, walk, run. So there's a lot of people in my world that feel like they should be getting paid $1,500 or $3,000 a show when they can't even get 10 people to come to the club to hear them. So that's kind of a different issue. But I love the idea of people that are willing to perform for free or nearly free to kill it so that they can have a second opportunity. And I go through this like with my clients that are sort of like at that mid-level, because you might be popping in Atlanta and you might be able to get $5,000 a show, but in Memphis, they're not willing to pay for a show because they don't really know who you are. And I have artists that will tell me, well, no, I don't want to go perform for free or less money in Memphis when I could spend my time here in this city getting $3,000 or $5,000. And my philosophy is, well, if you would just go perform at a reduced rate or even free in Memphis, you're going to have access to another 100,000 people in that area that have now heard of you and are going to go on to Spotify or SoundCloud or YouTube and be like, oh, let me see who this is. And you could bring in thousands of new fans. You may not make the same amount of money, but you're going to have new fans that will pay you down the road. So you've got to be able to balance free and paid at every juncture of your career.
Right. And it's also your job to take the fans you do have in your hometown on a journey. And if we're back down the club on Friday, that's not really an experience. You need to be like, oh my goodness, we're going to Tokyo. And there might only be 5 people at your concert in Tokyo, but everybody back home is like, oh my goodness, we have to have a welcome home party.
Right.
you know,
Right.
and you get your band's logo with some Japanese writing on it, and you're so much cooler.
Or even get people in the areas where you've already got the fan base, get them to come out on a Tuesday night, like maybe it's Toss Up Tuesdays or Sidechick Sunday. Like get people to come out on nights other than a Friday or Saturday when
What's Sidechick Sunday?
Sidechick Sunday is where you bring your side chick and you leave your main chick at home. But anyway.
Yeah, I know exactly what that is. And now we know the sign language for Sidechick Sunday.
Yes, we do. So do something out of the ordinary, like save Friday and Saturday nights for new markets and maybe take a little bit less money to do a Tuesday or a Wednesday night, get people to come out, and now you're expanding your schedule. So you're getting paid for every night of the week instead of just Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
And don't be afraid, like if you're booked, let's say you're booked in Memphis on a Saturday night, don't be afraid to call the promoters in Jackson, Mississippi and try to offer them a deal for Friday night or Sunday night so that when you're going out to a new market, you're hitting the markets in that area. You could go out for 4 or 5 dates for a chunk of money instead of just one night in one city.
Right. And we were talking about screen printing earlier and how you can create so much value by doing that. If you wanted to set up one screen and make some very poorly executed Halloween shirts, for instance, you can tell a promoter, hey, we've got 100 shirts. It's $20 to get in, but the first 100 people get a free shirt.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
And it just costs you $200 and now the promoter is like, let's work with these people. They get it.
Yes.
And
your fans are wearing a billboard to you, so they're going to wear that shirt for the next 6 months or 6 years or however long it lasts.
Yeah.
Martin, I just thought of something that I'd like to share.